Good morning. Welcome to Q and Amaco. I'm Kara, and I've got a few projects going on today, so I'm going to be glazing two different things. I have a mug that I'm going to be glazing with three different glazes. Two of them are the new Celadons. I have C24 Succulent, and I have C52 Red Rock. And then I'm going to layer a little bit of PC46 Lustrous Jade over it for some of this runny greenness, which I think is really fun. I'm also going to be using some Cosmos on this orb today. This is going to be a gazing ball for a garden. So I've got lots going on. So I'm probably not going to get done with all the glazing for this mug, but I'm going to talk about what I'm doing. So if you have questions for me today about glazing, about clay in general, I'd love to hear them. And in the meantime, I'm just going to be glazing. So I'm going to start with my C24 Succulent. So this is one of the new Celadon glazes, and these should be on your distributor shelves now. If they're not already, they should be there soon. And I'm going to put Succulent on the inside and over the rim so that I get kind of a green break under the Lustrous Jade. Jason asks, are those new Celadons available in the Brickyard store yet? And yes, they are. So come to the Brickyard or wherever your local ceramic store is and see if they have them. But yes, Brickyard does have them. I only know because I walk through every now and again. Yeah, very exciting. Love the new Celadons and the new satin mats, don't forget. So I'm doing the Succulent because putting the Lustrous Jade over the top creates a glaze break where it runs a little bit, and over the Red Rock, you know, green and red make kind of murky brownish color. And so instead I'm going to use the Succulent at the top, and then when that break happens across those upper edges with the Lustrous Jade, it'll be more greenish, and then we'll have the Red Rock down below. So that's my sneaky plan. Sandra says, just got 2 of the new Celadons yesterday. Cool. Got Saguaro and Red Rock. I love all of the colors really, but yeah, Saguaro is really beautiful. That pale green. Succulent is a little bit more minty, but you know, they're just all so fun. And Red Rock, of course, is kind of a spicy red-brown color. Not quite brown, but more brown than red. And yes, we did create these colors with the ideas of matching the colors of the Southwest. So the new Celadons have that all going for them. So there's 2 coats. And while that dries, I'm going to move over to my orb and get this more in the center of the screen. So this, it is hollow, just in case anybody's worried about that. And I'm going to fire it on a stilt. so that it does not move, and also so that it keeps it up off of the kiln shelf. And I am going to glaze it on all sides. Which is tricky. And the really tricky part of this is making sure that I don't accidentally roll this off of the table, because glazing round things is really, really challenging. So the first coat I'm going to do on the entire surface, top to bottom, all the way down to that hole in the bottom. Sandra says, I'm going to use red rock on some pumpkins. Oh, that'll be beautiful. It's such a rich color. Now remember, using Cosmos glazes, they do run. So I'm not going to do too many coats at the bottom because I don't want it to run too much. And also it's going to require 4 coats. So this is going to take a good amount of glaze. Like I said, the tricky part is making sure I don't roll this right off the table. So there's one coat, and I'm going to make a little mark here on my table so that I know that I've done one coat. I'll set that over here. So, is everybody ready for Halloween and the fall season? We're having some kind of unexpected and unseasonably warm weather here this week, but it should be really lovely. So you may notice I'm wearing a shirt without sleeves, and that's because it's supposed to be quite warm today. I'm putting my 3rd coat of succulent on here. There we go. That's going to leave that to dry. Hello, Robin. Just opened my 6th pint of honey flux. Are those gallons coming out soon? I would hope so, but I do not have any updates on gallons for honey flux. I know that there's a lot of demand for it. Jason says, will there be samples uploaded to the layering page with the new Celadons soon? I'm not sure. So we are in the middle of creating the layering items for the Celadons. So this is this tile that I showed you. Where did I put my tile? Oh, right in front of me. The tile that I showed you is one of the first ones that's come out of the firing. We don't have them all finished yet. Once they are all made, we will have our photographer photograph them and color correct them and then put them on our server. I believe that we will have a new website at some point in 2024. And so it may be that instead of putting them on the layering page now, we might be putting them on the new website. So I hope that they'll be on the layering page at some point, but it's probably going to be close to the end of the year before these are all finished and photographed and color corrected, and that may be close to time for our new website. So I don't know. I'd like to get them out, but we are producing them and we are photographing them. So hopefully you'll see them soon. Mostly, if you know how the Celadons react with the PC glazes that we already have released, the new Celadons react very similarly. It's just going to be a matter of like how the color looks. Like, for example, where the lustrous jade breaks over the red rock, it gets kind of a root beer color, and that's just color interaction. Sandra says, I missed the first part. What glaze is the white crawling glaze? We don't have a white crawling glaze. This is our Cosmos, and this is Supernova. This is actually the clay. Here, let me go back to the overhead. This is actually the form of the clay. So you're seeing the bisqueware here. And it's just the way it was thrown. So it was thrown with a lot of texture, both vertical and horizontal texture, and then pulls were made so the texture twisted. So that's not actually a crawling glaze. That's just the clay. I haven't gotten to my second coat yet. But I'm going to get to my second coat for this. So I want to make sure that I do not put two coats on the bottom. So what I'm going to do is, and I still expect that this will run a bit, but that is okay. I'll have it on a brick shard and a little stilt so that it doesn't get on my kiln shelves. Turn it over. Surprised that nobody's taking bets on how likely it is that I roll it off the table during this demo. Sandra says, do the new Celadons run? Absolutely not. New Celadons do not run. This that I'm applying here, this is the new Cosmos glaze, Supernova. And the Cosmos glazes run because they are crystal glazes, which are very likely to run. But Celadons do not run. Not ever. You can see from this tile, you can see the line. So for these, we tape the bottom, and then the Celadon is brought right to that tape line. The PC glaze runs over the Celadon, but you can see that the Celadon itself does not move. Not even a little bit. So now I'm going to put red rock on the textured part of my mug. Well, it's still a little on the damp side, but I can still go with this. So what is everybody working on this week? The tricky part for this is getting it into the texture. Celadons, because they won't flow, they will not flow into the texture. Have to really get them into all of the texture. But I'm going to take the red rock all the way down to the foot. And I'll wipe a little bit off the bottom with a sponge, but I can take it right down to the very bottom, and they will not move. Yeah. What happens when I'm not looking at what I'm doing? I'm holding it by the handle at this stage because the inside of the mug is still a little damp. Normally I would put my hand inside the mug to hold it while glazing, but I don't want to smear the glaze on the inside. And I'm going to put the lustrous jade right where the two glazes meet, and a little bit on the green, on the succulent. Now the tile I showed you is 3 coats of Celadon with 3 coats of PC over it, and that's how we do the Potter's Choice over Celadon layering, is 3 and 3. If you're used to our Potter's Choice layering, those are 2 and 2, but for Celadons we do 3 and 3. Jason asks, did you finish the wall plate you were making a while back? Do you mean the big bowl with the lines that I was carving into it, or the bird? The bird didn't make it. I bumped it and broke its wing right off. But yeah, the bowl came out. I don't have it at the moment. I was thinking about showing that. It has Celadons on it, and I just fired it last night, and it looks beautiful. It has succulent on it, and it's just perfect, absolutely perfect. Yeah, you saw me break my bird. The big bowl, yes. So it is done. It's glazed. It's going to Ensica. Okay, I'm gonna let that one dry. Honestly, as clumsy as I am, ceramics seems to be kind of an odd choice, odd career choice, but far so good. Making sure I don't have any glaze on my fingers before I handle another piece. So again, I'm going to turn this upside down to make sure that I don't get glaze on that bottom area. And this third coat is going to go a little bit higher than the second coat, but still fairly close. Erin says, I love oatmeal, but it crazes every time I use it. Any tips? Thank you so much. Erin, I have not noticed oatmeal crazing. Do you mean cracks appearing before firing or after firing? It's crazing is, I do notice oatmeal like cracks and peels before firing, but I haven't really noticed it crazing, which is the cracks appearing after firing. If it's crazing, that is showing cracks after firing, that is a clay fit issue, and you should change your clay body. But if it's cracking and peeling before firing, that is very common. Jason says that happens to him too, and that is very, very common. Oatmeal does that. Now, if it is cracking and peeling completely off of your ware, it is very likely to crawl in firing. And in that case, I recommend that you add gum solution to just the amount you're going to use immediately, and maybe some water just to make it thin enough to apply. And oatmeal can go on and be very, very usable even when it's very, very thick, like almost frosting. But if it's cracking and coming completely off, use gum solution. Do not use it as a base coat. And if you're using it as a top coat over another glaze, it's just fine even if it's cracking. It will fire fine. So Aaron says none of the other glazes craze on the clay body. Uh, Again, that would be after firing. But if you're and gum solution will not help for after firing. It will only help with the cracking before firing. Like I said, that is very, very common. Jason asks, if glaze peels before the firing, can you just spray on distilled water to get it to adhere back? I suppose you could, but I don't know that it would really help it stick on. You can also just try to put a little glaze, a little wet glaze, and kind of stick it back on there. If it's falling completely off, gum solution is going to be your best bet to keep it on the pot, mixing the gum solution into the glaze. Or using a little bit of glaze to stick it back on. I'm afraid that distilled water might not work the way you want it to, and it might not stay on long enough in the firing to kind of melt onto the ware. It might still fall off before it reached that point. So I don't know. I haven't tried spraying it with distilled water. You could give it a try. Let us know how that worked. But yes, oatmeal does crack and peel. If you're using a very old batch, it's going to do that more. So try to use up your oatmeal before it gets too old. Put a little more on here. Some spots are still a little wet. That's okay. Now for the bottom part of this where it's very textured, I'm just going to put 2 coats on the textured area because I'm really applying it heavily to get it into all the texture. So rather than go back and do a 3rd coat, I'm going to say that 2nd coat is enough because you can see I'm really applying it thickly on there. Janet says, yikes, so late, I'll watch when this is ready. Better late than never. Now, I know that I've missed some spots right where the 2 glazes meet. I'm not worried about that because the gum solution is going to help. I'm sorry, not the gum solution. I'm still on the last question. The lustrous jade is going to go over that spot and cover those gaps up. So I'm not worried about there being small gaps between the 2 celadons. There we go. Looks like I got a little bit of the red rock inside the rim. Sponge that off. There we go. Move that over. So we just have 5 more minutes. Once again, I'm going to put, this is going to be the last coat for the supernova. I'm going to go about to where the 3rd coat was. some of the glaze came off because it's still a little soft, and I was rolling this around on the table. So I'm going to dab some extra on there when it's a little more dry, because I can see where those spots were. But there's my fourth coat. Do you have any last questions for me for today? I've got to clean up my brushes. I'm going to have to get another brush for the lustrous jade. Actually, I can clean up one of these. Make sure you don't contaminate your brushes. Make sure that you're cleaning the handle of the brush and the ferrule of the brush, as well as the bristles. So for the lustrous jade, I'm actually going to apply it fairly high, right to the top. So, and then just a little bit overlapping with the red rock. So when you see it next week, you'll know how high I went. Sound good? There we go. So I'm going to let this dry a little more and dab some on the tops where it peeled off when I was rolling it around on the table. And I'm going to get some lustrous jade on there. I'll put 2 coats starting at the rim and going down. So I will also be here this Friday in the studio working on some more things, and I'll be glazing the sculpture that I've been working on in the Friday Clay to Z live stream, because the test tile for that came back finally. And I just appreciate everybody joining me for my glazing adventures. It's been a lot of fun. So if you have questions, you can always comment outside the stream or message me at Amaco Brent. And thank you so much for joining me today. Happy glazing.